welcome everyone to On-Point Technologies and PCM webinar Wednesday. We are thrilled to have you with us for our webinar today, which is Windows 10 Productivity Built for Surface. To present on the topic, we have got Steve Adams, who is a device guy from Microsoft Corp. Before leading into our main presentation, we have got a few housekeeping items. Please remember to enter your questions in the question box on your right-hand side, and I will relay those over to our speaker at the end of the presentation. There will be a survey which will be emailed to your inboxes. Please fill them up and let them know how we did. This is also a recorded session, and the recording will be up for viewing in the next 1 week. And with that, I'm happy to hand it over to Steve.
Thank you, Nolan. Okay, welcome everybody. This is Steve Adams. I am Microsoft's lead device guy, and I want to thank everyone for attending right up front, and also thanking PCM for allowing me to spend the next hour with you really sort of exploring the productivity side of Windows 10, especially how that works with Surface. So what we see is that with Windows 10, we try to address some of the needs of our customers, specifically how our CEOs and CXOs really look at their investments when it comes to desktop. And when we look at IT investments all up, the whole world of moving to a new operating system has always been painful, right? So moving from XP to 7, moving from 7 to 8, okay, well, who are we kidding? Very few of us moved to 8. But moving from 7 to 10, we know that's a big commitment, and sometimes it's a struggle to say, how can we justify that decision? And when we went out, and this was a Deloitte survey a couple of years ago, they looked at how CIO budget allocation works. And what they found is about 71% of CIOs say, hey, our top priority is really focusing on new features, new ways to work, new opportunities to utilize data and impact our core business, whatever that core business is. And that's in lieu of, not focusing so much on keeping that IT structure really, continuing to take investments and keeping the lights on in the basement. But the reality of it is when we look at actual budgets and how they're spent, 55% of those budgets are spent in maintaining what we're doing today. So we do have this sort of this imbalance. We want to do more things, we want to get more done, and we want to really enable greatness within our people, our employees, but we're challenged to do that sometimes because things like IT and the issues we deal with in IT every day can cause some, like I said, imbalance. So from a Microsoft perspective, our new leader, Satya, very different than the days of yore and our past presidents and CEOs. Satya's take on this whole thing is a little bit different, right? In that he wants Microsoft to help people do great things, to achieve more. So from the very beginning with Windows 10, we kept that in mind. So last sort of housekeeping item on where we're at with Windows 10. We currently have about 400, or actually over 400 million devices running Windows 10 today. And we're adding let's say, run rate of 600 to 800,000 new devices running Windows 10 a day. So that's great news. I hope everyone on this call is using Windows 10 at home. They took their free, so nothing with Microsoft is free. They took their no additional charge update or upgrade from Windows 7 or Windows 8 on their machines. Hope everyone's done that. We're finding that most of our customers are embracing Windows 10 much earlier than they had with Windows 7 or obviously with Windows 8. And in this case, we're currently hovering around 96, 97% of our big customers are at least in an active pilot phase with Windows 10. And about 50% of our customers are thinking they're going to deploy Windows 10 in 2017. So we stand back and we say, well, why is that? Why are these numbers better than they've been before? And when we listen to our customers, here's the things that we found. We found out things like people are worried about security. And if you weren't on our call from, I think it was a couple weeks ago, if you weren't on our call, go to the PCM OnPoint site and find that call, and that was Windows 10 and security. Really, we're worried about security. We're worried about how we manage our PC technology, our infrastructure. Customers are focused on what we're going to talk about today, that productivity, right? How do we get great use of the devices we use every day? And then really looking on how do we do all of this to take on new business opportunities. And today we are going to focus primarily on the lower left-hand side of this screen, where we look at employees need to be productive, right? That's what they do. They want to be profitable. They want to bring innovation to their companies. And what we're finding is about a big trend that 80% of workers do work outside of what's traditionally considered the office and outside of what we traditionally consider office hours. And of course, we love our millennials, and if you're a millennial, hey, more power to you. I too identify millennial. But really, we look at millennials and they're used to, our new workforce are millennials, and they're used to collaborating and working differently. And they find a lot of the tools and resources we give them today in the traditional IT infrastructure are somewhat outdated and, in fact, do hinder innovation. So we took all of this feedback and we built Windows 10 around effectively 4 big pillars. Like I said, on our last of this series, we talked about security and how Windows 10, first and foremost, was designed from the ground up to be a comprehensive, secure platform. Today we're going to focus on the other spaces, is how do we help, with Windows 10, how do we help people achieve more, be more productive, make their Windows experience more personal, because we know when people take ownership of something, they also use it more and use it better, and also look at how powerful modern devices like the Surface family really are going to help us achieve great things. So again, most of our time today is going to be spent on focusing on productivity. And with Windows 10, when we launched last year, our message around productivity was very much around the end user. How do we make end users be able to do more? And what we realized is a lot of the things that we were thinking about in deployment and in management, those were actual productivity things on the IT side of the house. And we realized that from a productivity standpoint, Windows 10 has to provide both productivity to both sides. So when we look at productivity from an IT perspective, we really have focused on a few key areas. The first of all is how do we take advantage of cloud to really help do more, to transform IT. And we've made some really nice investments in this space. First and foremost, I want to talk about MDM, or mobile device management. And traditionally, MDM came into existence back in the day to help manage those pesky products that we were using out there, or maybe some Android, Chrome type products that were out there. But what we found, because from a Microsoft perspective, device management has always really meant to us system center, right? managing all those PCs that are wired to our network. But with this new workforce and this new how people work, we realize that the Windows 10 experience is also a mobility experience. So mobile device management makes a lot of sense for managing Windows 10 devices, because we may be in an environment where no longer the majority of our users live on a wired network in a brick and mortar building. We may have people that work from home. We may have people that are on the road most of the time. We may have people that are literally, always in front of our customers or our stakeholders in the field, and may rarely come back to a brick and mortar office. So when we were building Windows 10 and looking at this, what we realized is we have to take advantage of security and all the features and cost savings we're going to be talking about. The device has to be managed. That Windows 10 device has to be managed more than just managing the inbox or the mail client that exists on, for example, a bring your own device. So with Windows 10, for the first time ever, we built in all of the tools necessary to support across all of our devices all MDM platforms. So in Windows 10 world, of course, as a stakeholder, I would love for you to use Intune. But if you've already got an investment in another MDM platform like AirWatch or Mobile Iron, or insert your favorite here, they're all first-class citizens when it comes to mobile device management. So by thinking about Windows 10 mobility management in that cloud mobile device management infrastructure, it certainly enables us to do some great things. Bringing along Azure Active Directory is a natural way to help do that. And most of you, I hope, are either on Office 365 or looking at Office 365 as their strategy for keeping that productivity experience, that Office experience, always up to date and secure. Well, along with that comes Azure Active Directory. And with MDM and Azure Active Directory, we can turn on all kinds of productivity and security features. Along with our Windows Store for Business and Upgrade Analytics, we have the ability to create this new IT transformation environment. So if you are currently a brick and mortar type of system center IT environment looking at the cloud, now's the time to really do that. We've got all the right pieces in place to do that. So I do get a lot of questions about, okay, Steve, I get it. We're going to move to Office 365. We've got Azure. We're syncing our directory we're hybrid, we're there. And we've got a management platform in place, whatever it is. What does that really get us? And here, this is the second area we talk about when we talk about IT productivity, and that's this concept of reducing destructive deployments. And when we look at this, when we look at the data, this information comes from a Forrester Consulting survey that we had them do just literally a couple months ago, looking at what is the economic impact of Windows 10 on an IT department. A couple things I like to point out is, from a desktop management standpoint, we've seen a reduction of up to 15%. That's help desk calls, that's management costs across the board, about 15% when moving to when our users are on Windows 10. But the big savings is in this space of deployment. And today what we're finding, and here we say before on this screen, but before is really literally today for most of us, for most of our customers. And what we see is deployment today is kind of a painful thing, right? Most of the time when a new operating system across the board, when a new operating system comes out, that's about a 4-year cycle before it's adopted. So 7 to 8, 8 to 10, well, that's not a great strategy. We also find that our average customer may have up to 15 full-time employees focused on desktop deployments, on operating system deployments. And typically it would take an individual up to 60 minutes to actually install the image. And if you live in that world of golden images and image management and patch management, that's a very expensive component. And when we look at that balance, right, CIOs want to do more. They want to use their budgets they have to enable more greatness in their employees. But we're spending a lot of money and have traditionally spent a lot of money and energy on this concept of deployment. Now, to make this real, I want you to kind of visualize, if you would, what happens today. And let's say that one of your executives, let's say your CEO's out on the road and going to customer meetings and meeting with partners, and what happens today when their PC breaks? They're in the hotel room, power surge comes along, and all of a sudden their PC won't turn on at all anymore. Well, in the traditional way, the way we've always done it, is, of course, the CEO would call the IT help desk and open a trouble ticket. Okay, no, we know that's not true. He would call the CIO and say, hey, I'm not working, fix it. So someone on the help desk or someone in the deployment would be given the imperative, hey, call our CEO, she's on the road, her machine's not working, see what's going on. So of course we'll call them and we'll have them check, make sure everything's plugged in, hold the power button down for 15 seconds. Oh, that didn't work. You can hold it down for 30 seconds. And obviously if the machine's dead, most customers would then go into that panic mode of, okay, how do I get my CEO a machine that works, that has their data on it, that has everything set up? And for most companies, that's a 1, 2, 3 day fire drill, including an overnight shipment of a device. Well, with Windows 10, we kind of want to change that. And one of the benefits we talked about is this concept of dynamic provisioning. Now, dynamic provisioning enables this what we see on the right side of the screen is after Windows 10. So what does dynamic provisioning allow? That same scenario with that CEO will run a little bit different with Windows 10. We get the call and they say, hey, my machine won't turn on, I've tried everything, what should I do? Now the story is, okay, where are you in some place, some town? Yes. Is there a Staples or a Best Buy? Yep, there sure is. Best Buy across the street from my hotel. Okay, go over there and buy any Windows 10 machine. It can be one it can be a $399 device. It can be a full-blown, the next PC you want. I don't care, just go buy any device. So they go over and they pick out a device. Do I care about corporate standards anymore? No. In general, do I care about features and functions of a device? This is a crisis situation. No, I don't care. Heck, tell them to go buy a machine that her child or her grandchildren can take advantage of and utilize, right? This is a temporary fix. So they go pick out a machine they like and say, go to the Starbucks, go to McDonald's, go to anywhere that has an internet connection and open up the machine, plug it in, and turn it on. Now, with Windows 10 and our MDM in-the-box capabilities, we have the ability to say, turn that machine on. The very first question it's going to ask them right out of the box is, hey, can we connect to a network? Yep, connect to my Starbucks network that I'm sitting here in Starbucks having a latte doing. Second question it asks is this machine a corporate-owned device, a work device, or a personal device? Now, there are strategies that we can go either way and still connect, but let's just say we've instructed them to say this is a work device. They paid for it on their corporate Amex. So it becomes a work device. It then says simply, okay, what's your email address, your work email? So they type in CEO@company.com, and it goes out to Azure. And now the good news is this is all set up. Office 365, some mobile device management platforms in place. Goes out to Azure and it says, hey, do I know who this CEO at company.com is? Yep, we sure do. We see that they should have an enterprise license of Windows 10. Yep, with Windows 10 now, we no longer have to re-image to get an enterprise license or an education license. All the code needed for all flavors of Windows 10 are built into every Windows 10 device. So Azure knows that they should not only be upgraded to an enterprise license, they should have these policies, these rules pushed down. They should get Office. They should get the link to their OneDrive. They should get their inbox set up, all that good stuff. And literally 20 minutes later, after simply typing their email address and their password, because of the power of the cloud, they're back up and running. So literally within a couple hours from their machine dying, they could be up and running instead of that whole re-imaging a machine, overnighting it. Where does that get us? That gets us to a much more rapid ability to deploy Windows 10. So those 15 people in this new environment only require 5. Those 5 people are looking at the latest, highest priority updates. Those folks are looking at new ways to take advantage of the resources of the cloud for that mobile individual. And installation time from an IT perspective goes down from 60 minutes of imaging to literally 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes was spent sometime along the way going out to Azure through their MDM resources in Office 365 and saying, hey, this user has the ability to add a computer over the cloud to our domain, to the Azure Active Directory. It's called domain join. So that is that one example of how we can reduce costs and increase productivity for IT. The other things we've done here are built in this whole concept of Windows as a service, where, and I understand this is still confusing to a lot of people. So Windows as a service, just to be very clear, has nothing to do with needing to purchase Windows for a per month user charge. Now we have licensing models where you can add enterprise benefits through a monthly fee on top of what you already have. But for the most part, literally Windows as a service is just a model of keeping machines always up to date and giving IT the ability to still say, hey, these machines need to be deferred. Those non-mobile workers, those high-value or high-risk systems, we do have to do some testing of software, so don't force the updates on those. But for my people that browse the web and use Office and some cloud-based apps, absolutely, let them get their updates. I don't need to update those anymore. We've also focused a lot on application compatibility and in-place upgrades, allowing existing hardware to, with very little effort, go through that same process of backing, user double-clicking an icon on the desktop and it taking them through doing the backup of their data, the backup of their user state, loading the new operating system and bringing their stuff back up and running. And I'll tell you, at Microsoft, we've had over 100,000 devices and users that have been upgraded from Windows 7 or 8 to Windows 10 using an in-place upgrade. We can't afford to bring in all of our field's devices and have IT touch them. So we do that all self-executed, right? They get a link in an email. Hey, when you're ready, click this link. And then application compatibility, there's some really stellar statistics here. First of all, that big investment that we made, a couple slides earlier, it said, it costs to go from XP to 7, about $2,000 in soft costs per user, or per user. A lot of that was focused on app compatibility. So those investments we made with Windows 10 to move to Windows 7 from XP in application compatibility updating, those investments all carry through to Windows 10. And that's because the underlying API that's called Win32, that entire infrastructure, that way we run applications on the desktop, has not changed in any significant way from Windows 7 to Windows 10. So what we're seeing is for most applications, about 99% of all desktop applications that are written to the Windows 7 Win32 standards run just fine on Windows 10, no compatibility issues. So we're really excited about that. And we understand application compatibility has always been a pain when it comes to moving to new operating systems. So we've invested a lot to help make that better. So moving away from IT productivity, now I want to take a moment and focus on end user productivity and what we're really trying to do there. Like I said, when we look at how people work, and it is dramatically different, especially for this new millennial workforce. It is no longer I come into the office at 8 and sit at my desk and am done at 5, right? Some people like to work crazy hours, come into the office at 4 in the morning and then leave at 2. Come in at 8 at night and work till 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning. Some people like to work from home. So we recognize the need for users always having the tools and resources and information they need wherever they are, whenever they need it. So to address this, we do have a few things that we've included. One is Azure Active Directory user state roaming. That's a long term. But what that means is in Azure Active Directory, we actually keep track of the things that an end user does. So I can open a PowerPoint on one machine, my desktop, let's say, edit it, close it, take my Surface Book, go on the road, open it up at the hotel that night, and open that same PowerPoint presentation. It's going to say, hey, you were on slide 32 this morning on this other computer. Would you like me to take you there? Favorites, everything we're used to now goes across all of our environments, including any web-based cloud access we have through Office 365. We also, of course, have OneDrive for Business and Office 365 capabilities for sharing files, for storing files on the web or in the cloud, and for collaborating. And that's how we're addressing this need for people to do things outside of that normal desktop experience. We've also built in digital, what we call Windows Ink, and this is new as of the anniversary update. I'm going to attempt a demo here. So I've got my Surface Pro 4 that I'm actually doing this on, and you can't see me, but I've got my Surface Pen, and I'm going to click the Surface Pen, and what traditionally that would have done was brought up OneNote. But when I click the Surface Pen now, I actually get something called Windows Ink Workspace. And what we have is the ability to do multiple different things that people would traditionally want to do using a pen on a pen-enabled or an ink-enabled device. So we have things like universal sticky notes. What do I mean by that? And smart sticky notes. Well, that means, and I have a flaw right now. Actually, I'm sharing a non-touch, non-pen-enabled screen, so I'm just going to talk through this. But with sticky notes, we have the ability to have pervasive sticky notes. So again, if I create it on this machine and write, hey, look at Delta Flight DL170, that's going to go across any Windows 10 machine I log into that has anniversary update. Now, what's also interesting is sticky notes are smarter now. So if I put times and dates or even that flight information, it will actually translate that and create a hyperlink. So when I say create a sticky note that says, look into flight DL160, I then, when I'm processing that sticky note, I literally just click the link that's on that sticky note, and it'll take me out to Bing and show me what that finds. I also have available in the Ink Workspace a sketchpad, a screen sketch, which takes a picture of the current screen and lets me mark it up and share it, and then access to recently used applications. This includes OneNote, Maps, anything I typically use. You'll see I also have a suggested box, and that is where I have pen-enabled apps that I can do other things with, whether that's creativity software or productivity software. I have the ability to add that in here. One of the other things that I'll wrap up on Windows Ink is a lot of companies have always struggled with how do I integrate a pen or a stylus or handwriting recognition into my application. I'd like to do that, but it seems really hard to do. Well, with the anniversary update, we literally have 2 lines of code that your application developer can put in that turns on full functionality of Windows Ink. So handwriting recognition, being able to use the pen as a stylus in the application, literally just 2 lines of code is all we need to turn on Windows Workspace or turn on inking. So we look at this and we look at the investments we made, and all of this goes to people getting things done and being more productive in a very personal way. Right? Now, I don't know if this looks like your desk. This doesn't look like any IT desk I've ever seen. It certainly does not look like my desk. But this is a good representation of how these new workers, especially in the millennial space, how they function differently and how they think differently. And it's about having an environment they're excited about, but it's also about having a device they're excited about. And here we see, for example, a Surface Pro 4. That individuality is really, really important to this new workforce. So we've focused on that from a how do we make the Windows experience more personal. And the first thing we've done is we've sort of beefed up Cortana. And I don't know if folks have played with Cortana, but I'm going to do, attempt to do a demo to kind of show you what Cortana does and then sort of what she does on the next level. So let's cross your fingers if this works correctly. Hey Cortana, do I need a coat today?
No, you shouldn't need a coat. The forecast shows them with a high of 67 and a low of 43.
Okay, and then I can do other fun stuff. Hey Cortana, when do the Cubs play next? Oh, hold on. Cubs aren't going to play.
The Cubs season is now over.
Okay, thanks Cortana.
In the last game, they won a close one over the Indians, 8-7, in Game 7 of the World Series.
Was sort of an important game too. But what's actually even better is she does business stuff too. So let's try this. Hey Cortana, what's next on my schedule?
Coming up next, you have Black Belt / TSP Sync at Skype meeting from 4 o'clock to 5 p.m.
So I have the ability, Cortana is now integrated into Outlook, integrated to everything I do from a system perspective, so she gives me the ability to interact. Now, we've also expanded Cortana into Azure Active Directory and Analytics and Power BI. So I'm not only asking questions about my schedule or saying I'm running late or adding things to my calendar or to-do list, but I can also use Cortana to ask about my business data, to ask about my pipeline or my production statistics that are currently running real time in those systems. We also, using Windows 10 and using Cortana as a digital assistant is really sort of another way we're empowering people to integrate in with Windows 10. The last area here is really making sure that users get the best experience. So we built in this concept of continuum where effectively our goal is whatever form your machine is, and I'm going to talk about the Surface Pro 4. When I'm using a Surface Pro 4 and it's sitting on my desktop with the keyboard attached, I want to use that in desktop mode, right? And this was something we missed early in Windows 8. But if I pick up my Surface Pro 4 and detach the keyboard, I want to use that in touch mode. And so Continuum gives us that dynamic experience of going between desktop mode and tablet mode automatically based on how my device is currently connected. And even I can just fold the keyboard back on my Surface Pro 4 and it will know to go into tablet mode. So that's really how we're focusing on making things more personal. To take advantage of this Windows 10 power, we're also really excited about what people are doing with new devices. And when we look at that, we realize that being productive and taking advantages of IT's productivity increase in Windows 10 really has some interesting spaces we have to explore. First of all, we do realize that we do want companies, because of the security and additional productivity built into Windows 10, to really bring those innovations to their current users. So literally, if you have a PC that was designed for Windows 7, which I hope is most every PC or beyond, which I hope is most every PC in your environment, it's going to run Windows 10 great. We've built in that hardware and driver compatibility, makes it very easy to have that in-place upgradability and fantastic hardware compatibility. We do also want people to achieve more with modern devices, and that's where the Surface family comes in, right? Looking at the Surface Pro 4 and the Surface Book, two completely different experiences of physical form factor from a machine, but both designed to take the most advantage of Windows 10, whether that's Windows Hello logins, using face recognition, the 2-in-1 mode we talked about, Continuum, giving me the touch experience when the keyboard's not accessible or folded back, and then giving me that full keyboard experience when it's connected. We want that ability to create and innovate and be productive to be across, the entire family. We also do take into account new things like this whole space of IoT, and how do we create that managed, secure user experience, and also take advantage of specific devices that are customized to the experience, the work experience someone's doing. So making ruggedized machines even more personal on a factory floor or in an ambulance. Then lastly, we really like to look at how we focus on new ways of being productive. So Surface Hub is our Surface productivity device, right? 55 and 84-inch Windows 10 devices that mount on the wall or on a cart allow us to collaborate, multiple people to collaborate at the same time, and to collaborate online easily and without a lot of complexity in their space. And then HoloLens, our take on augmented reality. And if you haven't had a chance, I do encourage you to go out to YouTube and just search Microsoft HoloLens and look at some of the creative, innovative things that our ISVs are looking at with HoloLens. I do want to comment on HoloLens, though, with the next update called Creators Update that will come sometime in early 2017. We're taking HoloLens to the next level and really opening up that augmented reality Windows 10 experience to other devices built by other vendors. So what most people, when they ask me about HoloLens today, that's not a product that you can buy easily through our partner channel. You have to get a developer device to play with, and today's a great time if you have use cases for your augmented reality. And I was talking to a customer just yesterday that had shared their vision of increasing productivity and experience in the emergency response space, right? When I call 911, they found out that, in their experience, many calls they go out on do not always require a trip back to the hospital in the ambulance. So they're looking at ways to use something like HoloLens and that immersive experience to bring a doctor through the emergency responder's eyes, bring a doctor on site, right, and to provide a consult there. Hey, whatever the answer is, that can be done without needing to go to the hospital and saving a lot of time and money and resources. So lots of very creative ways that we see folks taking advantage of Windows 10 and everything that it entails in these new ways of working. So to wrap things up, we look at our next strategy, right? And what we're calling it now is this concept of SPE, or Secured Productive Enterprise, which is really about delivering everything we need, the productivity of Office 365, the cost savings, the productivity, both IT and in-user productivity, through enterprise mobility and security, and then the security features of Windows 10 Enterprise, bringing that all together in making all of this greatness real inside your organization. And I'll wrap that by saying, by being on this call, working with one of our top partners like OnPoint PCM, really they have the resources, they have the folks ready to have this conversation with you. If you're not already in a Windows 10 pilot or proof of concept, I would like you to consider that and have that conversation with your rep, and really start focusing on Windows 10 and seeing how it can make your life and your end user and IT department's life much more productive. So we are going to open it up to questions, and I do have the first question. Corey asked, will the HoloLens eventually be available through the channel? So with our great question, with our latest announcement of Creator Edition, I think which really early information on this, but if you read between the lines, the HoloLens isn't most likely, the form that the HoloLens is in today is really more a visualization form. How can we utilize this mode of work, right, this augmented reality? How can we take advantage of it? How can we visualize it? Most customers today are using HoloLens in truly a proof of concept kind of development environment. It's not, as examples, it's not really ruggedized. It's not ready to go out in the field. The great news is with Creator Edition, though, we have announced that ecosystem is opening up, and we've seen early designs of solutions built around HoloLens technology that will be widely available through the channel to take advantage of that technology in probably a more cost-efficient and more rugged environment. So today, HoloLens is great for developing, proving a concept, just experiencing augmented reality. Tomorrow, i.e. early next calendar year, we should see some really nice announcements, some really exciting hardware solutions built around that technology, just in different form factors. Next question is, it's a long one, so Eric asks, our issue with Windows 10 has been around automatic updates. Our technicians are using laptops, tablets in the field. They are not powered on 24/7, and when the tech powers on his device, it often begins an update that renders the device useless until the update is complete. Also, when he then powers off the device, it is then closing out the update and can be closed, powered down until the process is completed. This is a productivity issue, absolutely I agree, and the source of a lot of support issues. So a couple things I can talk about there. There are group policy settings that you can take advantage of either through like System Center Config Manager or your NDM platform of choice that sort of help define when can we do these things, when should we do these things. We also have built in some intelligence around focusing on user behaviors, right? So right now, instead of my family, for example, instead of leaving their Windows 10 machines in their backpacks overnight, I encourage them to take them out, plug them in, and get a good charge on it. And with the right settings, Windows 10 can actually say, hey, this is outside of business hours. It's 3 in the morning. I'm fine with going ahead, turning on, bringing down that update, installing that update, and having a go at it. Now, I'm a control freak. My wife is a control freak, and she will refuse, click the I don't want the update, I don't want the update. If people don't allow the update process to happen naturally, or as prescribed in group policy through our management tools, then every once in a while, and I'm guilty of this as well, I'll get a, hey, we're getting ready to reboot, hold on to your hat. And it's never at the most convenient time. I get that. So a little bit more, I'm reading some more questions. Yeah, so basically around auto updates, we do have the ability to schedule and control that. So thanks, Eric, for that question. Also, I will point out there are some great articles on TechNet. If you just go out and search TechNet for Windows 10 Update, there's some great white papers and articles talking about sort of like the underlying strategy and behaviors that are out there. So any other questions?
Thank you, Steve. There is one more question. In your conversation with customers, what is the balance between security and productivity?
Excellent. Right now, customers, like the very first slide showed, CIOs really want their users to be enabled to do more and do great things. But the reality of it is 55% of our budgets still go to keeping the firewalls running and the infrastructure in place. So the balance really is, when people say, hey, what's one message with Windows 10, that message is absolutely around security, right? Windows 10 has abilities, has security functions and features and benefits to it just based on modern hardware and capabilities that we can't do with old hardware in Windows 7. So that's absolutely 100% of the time, that's always where we start. And then if I get asked the question, hey, that's great, Steve, but what else do I get? That's when we go into the improved productivity and the user experience and how folks can get the most out of their daily lives, work lives especially, using the latest Windows 10 tools and productivity software. So, great question.
Thank you, Steve.
Absolutely.
There's one more question from Ahmad Ali. He's asking, what about the Microsoft privacy policy stipulating that they have the rights to transfer the files on your server from scanning? And he's saying this is part of the Windows 10 EULA.
Yeah. So I'm not a lawyer, so I can't speak to everything that's in the EULA. And I will admit I've chosen not to read the EULA, and I just click accept. So kudos to you, Emily, for understanding that. Whenever a privacy question comes up or is asked about, I always first point out that I want you to go out to Microsoft.com/privacy or search for Microsoft's Trust Center. And that is the de facto place to get all of our latest policies, but more importantly, all the certifications and recognition we've received that really talks about while we in our EULA ask for the rights to do that to scan files. That's part of Defender, right, which is our built-in anti-malware. Understand that our goal is to keep systems healthy, to keep user environments healthy, and to help protect end users from themselves. So all the official answer is all up in on the Microsoft's Trust Center. I also like to joke that honestly, if we look at 400 million plus devices running Windows 10, all that have clicked that EULA, and we do the math of, let's say there's 1,000 reporting items that happen every day for each Windows 10 device. That puts us in the trillions, I think, of pieces of data that are coming into Microsoft every day. We don't care what people are doing. We don't care where they got their video or their music. That's not something that we monitor or we care about. We're looking at viruses, right? When does someone click an email and click a link in an email and it opens up some malware? Those are the things we care about. We care about when upgrades or when updates come down and there's a buggy driver for a video card and it causes a system issue. Those kinds of pieces of, we call it telemetry, that's what we care about, and that's how we help reduce cost and solve problems earlier. When it's all said and done, though, we do put the power into our customers' hands. So again, through group policies, you can go in and shut down telemetry. There's several levels of control you have there. So if you're concerned about privacy and telemetry, absolutely encourage you to look at the policies that you can set inside a group policy in controlling how that rolls out. But great question, Emily. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Steve. There are no more questions in the questions box now. But if you still have any more questions, please email us at amec@onpoint.com and I will have this answered from Steve. So with
Awesome.
that, thank you, Steve, for a great presentation, and thank you all for joining us today. Have a great day ahead.
Great. Thanks, everybody.